It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. My name is Steve Pulaski. My next guest is a member of what is quite possibly the most famous family in the world. The nephew of former President Donald Trump, his new book, All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way, examines the interpersonal dynamics of several members of the Trump family, including his own fathers and, of course, his uncle. It's available wherever you get your books. He is the author, Fred Trump III. How are you, Fred?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining me. Talk about this book, All in the Family. There is a lot to unpack here, isn't there, Fred?
There is. It didn't start out that way, but what it really is to honor my father, who you mentioned, Fred, Donald's older brother, who was a very caring and charismatic guy who died way too early, and also my son, William, who's 25, who, without question, is the most courageous and inspirational person I know. He has complex disabilities. He is in a wheelchair, needs assistance for everything he does. But he opened the door for me to advocate on behalf of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which led me to meet and speak for a good 45 minutes last Tuesday with one of your great senators, Tom Harkin.
Why publish this book now, Fred?
Well, there's two reasons. One, William, I'll go back. When Donald was running for president in 2015, obviously it was a very contentious campaign with a lot of vulgar issues that he was raising and speaking about. My two older children were no longer living at home. William was. We had dead animals thrown on our lawns. We had reporters coming to our door, without invitation, cars in our driveway, sitting outside our property. So we wanted to wait until William was in a group home, which he now resides about 20 minutes away from our home. So that was one reason. We wanted the safety of knowing he was away from home in case anything happened with this book coming out. Second is, the insurrection was just a detestable day in our country's history. And I started thinking about just how the Donald I've known, unlike any other book, I know Donald, from his school years. He's the first guy to put a golf club in my hand. We share that passion. I knew him through his business career and through his political career, having visited him many times down in D.C. at the White House.
You had several meetings with Donald while he was president to talk about aiding Americans with developmental and intellectual disabilities. What were those meetings like, Fred?
Well, the last one was the most important one. I brought down a group of advocates and physicians called Equally Alive, which my wife, who is maybe the greatest detective ever for finding out information about the disability community. And I brought them down several times, and I have to thank my cousin Ivanka for setting up the first meeting with Secretary Ben Carson of Housing and Urban Development, because housing is a huge issue with the disabled community. And we met several times, culminating in a meeting at the White House that I requested with Donald. And for 45 minutes, we went through issues that were important to us that we thought we wanted to bring to the forefront. When the meeting dispersed, Donald called me back in, greets me with his usual, "Hey, pal, how's it going?" And he says, those people, the costs, they should just die, which was shocking to hear.
Talk about your son, William, Fred. You mentioned him a little bit. Your advocacy for people with disabilities, I know they go hand in hand, but I want to give you the opportunity to talk about how much your son, William, means to you.
Well, look, I have three kids, and they're all terrific in their own way. I have Andrea, who happens to be home today, and my son, Christopher, who happened to be home earlier this week. William obviously has a special place in our hearts. He really inspires me every day to go out there and do this, to raise awareness for a population that in many respects is voiceless. But also the book, which doesn't get mentioned enough, Lisa and I really opened up about what it's like to be in hospital, assuming that your kid is going to be born typically. I read a great article probably 20 years ago that said, parents, waiting for the birth of their child aren't saying, oh boy, I hope I have a child who's blind. Oh, I hope I have a child who has Down syndrome. No, you expect things to go well and typically. So we spent a good part of the book, and I hope it, could give just some comfort and perhaps a roadmap to those that are going through some real troubles in hospital, again, with not having the anticipation of a child with issues. In fact, in the back of the book, there's a URL code that you can scan and will lead you to certain organizations that may help those with these issues.
One more for you while I have you, Fred. What do you want people to know about Fred Trump III?
Well, I've been called the nice Trump and the quiet Trump, but the time for me to be quiet is over. I apparently have a national platform right now. I've done advocacy work locally in Connecticut. I will obviously continue to do that, but I have a national platform right now. I've done many national interviews, and I will continue to do so. And as I said, meeting Senator Harkin, we've pledged to work together to continue this fight, and we will.
That book is All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way. He is the author, Fred Trump III. I want to give you the final word, Fred, to talk either about the book, your advocacy, anything you want to leave off on, Fred. The floor is yours.
No, I thank you again. No, it was a real pleasure writing this book. It was kind of cathartic for me. It's a very complicated family, there's no doubt, but every family is complicated, and you get through that. As someone jokes, everyone has that uncle at the Thanksgiving dinner table that's a little crazy. Well, I got a crazy uncle. So,
Fred, I greatly appreciate your time. I wish you nothing but great health, your family, William, everybody, nothing but great health and positive spirits, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.